I'm huge fan of this semantic SEO thing. Links matter a lot. I saw a big increase.
When anyone asks me what SEO is basically a guy sat in his bedroom.
You need to be good at server logs because Google remembers. Try to find a mentor and try to work for them. If you can go in 5 years, you are 50% up.
Basically said, don't do SEO, do paid ads instead. Hi guys, it's Karl from Search Route, and today I'm joined by Harry. I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname because I'll probably absolutely butcher. Actually, shot it. Harry Anapliotis. Yeah, that's who we're
Okay.
joined by today. He's an absolute legend when it comes to semantic SEO. He owns a family-run car rental place in Crete and absolutely dominates the SERPs completely. He even ranks in the UK for Crete-related terms when it comes to car. I'm actually making this completely up, but he's an absolute legend. Ranked multiple websites. Another one of Corey's top pupils. Lovely guy on occasion, can be a bit of a knob, but we just go with the flow with him. And we'll chat through ideally his background, how he got into SEO, and everything else juicy and great. How are you doing, Harry?
I'm good. Nice to see you all in sunny Crete at the moment. Yeah, I'm doing semantic SEO for like 4 or 5 years, 4 years now. I worked with Korai in person. Korai worked on my business for my website for like 2 years. That's all. I'm huge fan of this semantic SEO thing. It's a holistic approach, and I think it's the only way that the only thing that somebody can do in order to rank businesses from now on. Semantic is all over Google now in all the search engines actually from now on. So I guess it's the next best thing for everyone who like.
How did you originally get into SEO? I'm pretty sure you were in
Okay,
development first, right?
yeah. I am a developer myself. I used to build the websites for my for my company. We're like a 50-year-old company now. This year is our 50-year anniversary. So when like 94, 95, I will start building my first website. So we really tried to rank through Yahoo at the time. Then Google came along, so we tried to rank also there to get like cheap lead generation, cheap bookings for that. And I was really excited on this thing, how this thing worked and everything. I'm ranking the websites for like car rentals for like more than 20, 25 years now through Google. I mean, previously we had other search engines back then. Yeah, the developers' curiosity got me into how to get money out of it. So instead of just building the websites and let them sail, I said, okay, let's try to fix that and get more bookings on that. We had phases that everything was working and then everything not working. Then I met Korai.
Like the life of SEO, right? Things work and then things don't work and things work.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the Korai changed the whole perception of us in terms of let's really understand how the things work, how these things work, and then uh, try to be as close to how these things work, and everything will take place. I mean, just before it took me like 2 years in order to completely see the benefits, the real outcome of doing semantic SEO.
That's literally what I was in a meeting earlier with like a new partnership we're just kind of signing. And what I was saying to them was, it isn't a thing that's going to be next week you're going to rank number one. It's going to be a nice gradual over the next 12 months. We might increase impressions by X amount, but in the next 2 or 3 years, we probably be number one. It's not
Mhm.
going to be like a instant. It's never an instant hit, and I think this is half the problem with the SEO field is everyone wants that instant gratification and gain. They don't see the tests and the data and let that fuel SEO, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can do it faster, but I am in this community for like 3 years now, maybe more. I don't know a person that can do it himself other than having a huge team that is also trained for so long. So I don't think that this is something that one person can do, especially for multiple projects. Like if you have an agency, this cannot happen. So I took Korai's advice, stick to a few projects and be fucking awesome on this. So this is what I also recommend. Build the team that who understands you so it can save you time, because this is a holistic approach. You need to be good at server logs, you be good on building good HTML like DOMs. You can build even the outreach to build links. Find a person that can understand how you work and build and outsource this to them. We have done it before, that. So yeah, that simple and that complicated at the same time. Being able to schedule publication of semantic content network, it's also important. Okay, if you are too excited, I've got a good post that 100% good rank, you need to breathe and schedule the whole thing and schedule the everything, like the velocity of content publication and when you want this big thing to come. And this is again coming with the crawl budget and everything to be able to know what you are doing and when you are doing it. Okay, to get the momentum and keep the momentum up.
I think another thing that you touched on there as well is, or you haven't really touched on there, is the actual. I think a lot of people get too focused on publication velocity and don't actually think about tweaking existing, like improving existing stuff.
This is still content configuration is part of the publication still. Yeah. Once you publish your first content networks, you still need to go like 70% new content, 30% old content. And still, I can tell you from my experience that I need to change like 70% of my pages twice a year, because the search patterns change during the year and they change significantly. In order for me to rank, I need to change twice a year, because people in travel, this is seasonality kicks in. So in 6 months, it's completely different search behavior of the users rather than when they want to travel. So even being able to understand when you need to change the content is important. I can tell you that I changed all these lists of 2024 to 2025 posts. I changed them, like most of them, in October. I lost 2 months, but I don't care because this is off season. But then when it really matters, you are ranking already. You have the historical data already.
Yeah. And then with that in mind, are you publishing a brand new post and then maybe through on redirecting the old one to it, or are you just changing date type, as in is the date inside the URL slug and you're changing the date so then it has to re-index it? Or
I don't change the URL, the slugs, the paths actually, because you can semantically imitate the change, right? Even with new images, with breadcrumbs, everything, you can imitate that. So I don't want to change the URLs, because this triggers different algorithms. Yeah, triggers different algorithms that you lose the historical data. And Google prefers an older URL with new content rather than a new URL. That's all. Okay, that is depends of the website. If we are talking about ranking a business, we don't change the URLs. But if we are talking about news websites, the freshness is always important. Again, it's part of the website that you should imitate the news section, like new URLs keep coming up, so they know where to crawl and when to crawl, these kind of things. But if you, for example, the tags about people in news websites, this needs to be stable and needs to be like having search demand there. This I mean, it's a puzzle that changes from website to website.
Would you say, so on that as well, you're saying, publication frequency of 70% to 30%. Let's say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, obviously. Let's say you're in a niche where, well, let's say one of our niches, link building. Link building niche. Easy for me to obviously quote that. It's a niche that typically, there isn't a lot of new content out there. Like, there isn't a lot of huge changes with the content.
Mm-hmm.
Within that niche, we actually find that we're pretty static, and we actually are just working on a user signal and a page level of existing content. Our publication frequency, maybe once a week, as in new, where we tend to be refresh. Would
Mm-hmm.
say that's almost a bad approach and we should be trying to find something to publish on? Or would you say that is just because the industry doesn't dictate the news?
Okay, so for I have some theories on this. I don't know the niche of link building, but you always need to try and expand the content there in terms of, okay, you have link building, you have some different aspects that you need to connect with link building, like niche edits, like power posts, guest posts, whatever. Okay, so you can, I don't know if I can tell you in private these things or whatever, but you can like build lists with prices and do like some research of like how much would cost a niche edit in finance. You can always, and these prices actually change. Okay,
Yeah.
because just do an SQL, I don't know what kind of database you're using, and when the prices changes, this average also changing. So you still can have new content there, right? So try to find these angles, these aspects that can give you content variation, like really intervals, right? To give you some fresher data.
Would you also then be looking at like the likes of search engine land, where obviously they're probably publishing, stuff that maybe Google's released, new algorithm update or something? Would you say that's a good route for like that sort of site, or would you say probably not? It's almost too far away from, because it
Look,
is
this doesn't need to be the core section of your page, not the main context. Could be the supplementary content. Could be just a widget on the side, on the sidebar, for example, or something like this. That could trigger your nav boost clicks,
yeah,
your Chrome clicks.
yeah.
So yeah, I think you need to connect the main entity of the page, which is like link building, to some data. Nobody else has done yet. Of course, you need to check how much, what is the impact of page rank, okay, links, or like, again, Chrome clicks there. But when it comes to content, okay, you need to be associated with some data, like structured data, and this structured data will provide some additional value that the competitors might not do. Yeah. We have talked about it, if I recall, like news in sports betting,
Yeah.
news how to tackle this. But again, you want like better scroll rate on your pages. That scroll rate will give you more, authority. Google is visiting. It might get also. You can relate yourself to like entities that not entities to news that change quickly and be responsive to that. Okay, and if you're responsive to that, Google will always prefer your website rather than competitors. So that again, it's different aspects that you need to cover all of them and make the puzzle yourself. Put it down and say, okay, I test this, I test this.
You mentioned like quite an interesting point there about crawl rate. Now, from or in your experience, looking at obviously your aim is to increase crawl rate because that is going to lead to impression increase and click increase, right?
You will be tested in further indexes.
Exactly. So, have you ever seen, and I'm playing devil's advocate here again, but have you ever seen where you've got a section of your website, you might have managed to, get some links built to it or naturally gained a few links. And then as soon as you've gained those links, you start to see the crawl rate increase?
Not specifically. I haven't tested that. I have been testing, I'm not a link builder. I don't, it's just a thing. I'm not a fan, I can tell you. While I was working with Korai, I stopped link building because I tried to put this budget of links to content and other things that at this time were more important. I figured out last year, let's say, I continued the same journey of trying outreach and everything. So I saw a big increase. So links matter a lot. But again, we tried.
Start the podcast because obviously I know with Corey's cohort, it is very much the
I think Korai building links
course.
in a more untraditional way.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but
definitely Corey does, but I've definitely had a good few conversations with folks, and some of them seem to be against it, which is interesting because Corey definitely isn't against it. He actually preaches it, but just doesn't preach it all the time, which is interesting. I actually, on a personal note, I've seen that where, you know, that's what I often think is the difference between a good link and a bad link is actually you can see within your server logs, your crawl rate for the page you've just linked to starts to increase. And
mhm.
that's usually a sign of the link you've built is actually a pretty good link because it's encouraging the crawlers to revisit the page. And that's where I often believe, very similar to what you're on about impressions and clicks, is when that crawler visits the page, it's seeing the good link, it's visiting the page with the crawler, and then that has the positive effect on the search engine rankings. And that's usually what I've seen, and I've tested it quite a bit. Obviously, a link builder is always going to say links work. However, I will also argue, I argue both ways. I think links have a place. If your site's static and not really moving and your competition's all building links, guess what? You have to build links.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're in a little local niche and, links are very few and far between, you can probably get away with content.
I can argue in a lot of things as well here. The thing is, links matter if you're in local niche and you have to compete with giants that are also like, okay, you need to go with your brand. Okay, so focus on improving your knowledge panel in order to get like more things to put a person behind the company and build also the authority of this person in this niche. And this is important in local, I would say. So connect everything. So Google knows that behind this company, there is this
These people,
person.
yeah.
Yep. And the more, the better people. And again, we talked together about the sports betting that, okay, don't put yourself in a lot of places, in a lot of niches, because you're just blurring your main niche.
You're diluting your expertise.
Exactly. Yeah. You can be an expert in a lot of things, but you're not Elon Musk.
No.
You're not. So Google will not be so specific of getting the right attributes, the right entities near your name, near your brand.
There's
So
an old term, jack of all trades, master of none.
exactly,
And then
exactly.
that becomes a problem, right? So you need to almost, it's one of the reasons why, for me personally, I don't usually attach. I often invest in businesses where the partners are the experts and then the brand
Yeah,
around their
you can be a silent partner on that.
exactly. Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of a move here then, right? We're going to take the angle of, we're going to start talking about ranking states. And almost like I want do's and don'ts from you and what you should try and avoid dependent on the ranking state, because I've seen so many websites and the positive ranking state, where it just everything's rosy, everything's going up, everything is lovely. What are the things that you should do when in a positive ranking state, and what are the things that you shouldn't do?
Okay, so first of all, you need to identify why you got back to the positive ranking state. Positive ranking states like get reinverted or like this when there is a core algorithm update. You need to be like really careful of what you do after that in order because you need to win two consecutive core algorithm updates. that will put you on the map in like, okay, this is something is doing good here, something, there is value in this company, there is value in this website. So let's keep it this way. I mean, from Google side, they know that if you win 2 core algorithm updates, you are getting on a solid path. Okay. Then another thing that you should check is seasonality. For me, this is a big struggle because like in September, and I can tell you the exact day in September that we are going to negative ranking state. But why we're going in negative ranking state? Because we can know the market that puts us to a positive rank state is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, what I do, what everybody should do, is like try to identify the little peaks. Okay, when it can go up again. Okay, and during your negative ranking state, you need to be better in impressions and clicks than the previous gap, the previous negative ranking state. And slowly, everything gets the root. So again,
with what you're doing there, then are you going into Search Console and identifying the pages that might actually still be, because obviously most people do an overview of ranking states, so they're not actually clicking into the individual pages and going, actually, this page is on a positive. Can we improve it further? This one's in a negative. Can we do something to try and make it neutral? Or is it
exactly.
It is the seasonal keywords, it's always going to be in a negative. Let's focus on the positives and bring them up more.
You know, you can, me as a business owner, as a company owner, I cannot influence seasonality. I cannot put like millions of people go shift that and go make bookings that you are not coming. So this is not an option. Yeah. So what you can do is like we have like Christmas. Okay, it's not something that a lot of people want to visit Christmas, for example, in Crete or these kind of things. What I'm exploring now is like trying to build the outer context, the outer part of the topical map in other non-seasonal topics that can keep it. Like this could be history, would be like the mythology or this kind of thing. But still, I still get spikes because, for example, I can tell you recently I got some really good spikes with like 1,000 clicks in mythology. And there was a school in somewhere in US that had an assignment, like a project to write about mythology. And like a lot of people tried to find out information about this mythological creature. And I had a lot of information of this, so I got the clicks. They are not relevant to my business at all. It's outer section. Still, I got the win. And if you can manage to do that steadily, I mean, during the positive ranking state, you will get a huge benefit there.
Do you not worry about dilution from your core entity if you're delving too far into your outer sections? Are you not worrying that you might be, if you, like at the end of the day, I think Corey says you can have 1,000 pages about the Bible, and if you have one porn page which gets 1,000,000 clicks, your website is now seen as a porn website.
Yeah, still, I'm not dialoguing that because I'm doing it really carefully. I try to cover 2, 3, 5 different things in just one page. Okay, I may get, but this is like a drop in the ocean. It's not that big. Another thing that we get that really often, we get spikes on beaches.
Yeah.
But why? Like there are TV shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or this kind of things that this get an answer. And like for an hour, you are getting people try to look for the answer and we get like spikes. Yeah. And this could be for beaches, it could be for like cities, but it's spike in impressions, spike in, if you can leverage these during the off season or the negative ranking state, all these kind of things will give you a benefit when you're back in positive ranking state. Okay, because Google remembers.
Are you then trying to like internally link those pieces somehow back to your core section, or are you just kind of leaving them?
Depends. For example, this mythology, I try to move to connect with history, and from history to travel, from travel to current. So it's like mid nodes that you need to connect, not all the way in, because the contextual flow will be done, and Google will stop reading.
Yeah, so it wouldn't go like mythology through to car rental because, you know.
Yeah.
When was this mythological creature renting a car?
But you can still connect. You can still connect. Like you can do how did mythology translates transportation and transportation. How was transportation back then, and how is it now? And then go. Transportation for me is like the key section because it can give you the node. It will be the node that connects me to my source context, and that's important.
Yeah.
And there are also these like bigger nodes that you can easily connect to.
No, that's
In
good.
travel is this kind of thing.
So when let's say you found a section that's in a negative ranking state, obviously I know
Hmm.
you've got the seasonality terms, but let's say the seasonality's happened, it's September, October, your site is now looking like it's in a negative ranking state because of the
Hmm.
change, and you found a specific section that is just in general in a negative ranking state. Are you almost just ignoring that section because you know it will come back positive, or do you try to improve it as well, or what do you do with like that specific section up here?
First of all, I monitor all the impressions. Okay, so that helped me identify how the behavior is happening is in this topic, right? Because yeah, in topic. So when I have this kind of things, I plan like in when was the spike in search impressions last year or the year before. So when I have this data, I plan a content configuration with the new search data, like a month, like 3-4 weeks before the spike. So I know what to expect and when to expect that. So when the new spike is coming, because this is like, I can be really sure because I have many years of historical data, I am expecting spikes in search behavior, right? In search demand. Okay. Or not spikes, if like steady growing. I can tell you that with the earthquakes in Santorini now, I just literally this morning I found a friend of mine who has a news website in Crete, and he was ranking number one in Santorini earthquakes, because the search behavior changed. And now he's like, I saw a big jump. Let me see why he's ranking. And he's ranking for just one page, a news about what a discussion about how the season will go in Santorini,
For next year?
uh, yeah, behind after these earthquakes. And but it is a news website, so it got the big feature snippet in Google News section. I can be 100% sure that he will not be ranking there in 1 month,
Yeah.
because the search behavior will go back to normal, and when it goes back to normal, websites that talk about traveling to Santorini and how to get to Santorini
Who
will
have
get.
more power in it? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this is this. I mean, you can see it happening in Barcelona. Like during there is a game or the football game in Barcelona. All the search change to sports and what is how they're going to play, what is the starting 11 and everything. And after the game for a few hours, the result and everything. And then the next day, it's all about visiting Barcelona.
So it's
Also,
a
Google is profiling you, so they know if you are not into sports, they may not show you at all any
there's
sports.
a common trend where a niche we were in was like UFC, and obviously I think it's every week there's a UFC fight, and obviously it's a different number. So every week you publish, you get a huge spike, and then 2 days later, that no one's searching for that trend anymore. But then the following week, you've got another one because the next page.
Yeah. So you need to gather the historical data there and have the same URL
Yeah.
if possible. In news websites, again, it's different because they play the topic and the brand behind that, so they rank it like that.
Let's go down that angle for a second, just because you also know that I also have some news sites as well. So let's say you've got a news site and it's, we have a URL structure which is date, like date organized. And your website is 6 year old.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's a ton of content there that is just like no one searches for it, right? It's like 2019, 2020, it's ancient. Now, you go into Screaming Frog, you pull all the analytics search console data. It's not, it might be getting visited by Google bots on occasion still, but it's not getting any like actual real life visitors, right? It's just getting crawled. What would you do in that situation? Would you be trying to clean it up, or are you just going to leave it there to? Because if you read what like John Mueller, you know, the big head of Google guy, the spam team, he
Mhm.
suggests that you should just leave it and they know how to handle it. What would you be saying?
They know how to do it, but it costs them money
Yeah.
because of the crawl budget. So they will not publicly say that, okay, leave it, but we will not visit that often, but still we will visit it. It can cost you like 20% of your crawl budget. So if your website is amazingly fast, amazingly efficient, let's call it this way, so it doesn't cost a lot to Google, leave it. If not, try to consolidate, try to remove pages, like kill the pages so Googlebot will not no longer visit. So, and try to check which pages Google visit. Maybe one of these pages is visited more often than others. Okay, that means Google is seeing a value there. Okay, it may be a representative, could be visiting just one page from a silo. Try to leverage this, put some content there, and then you can, like, in 2-3 months, you can consolidate to something else. So you increase the crawling rate and then move it somewhere else.
So
Could be more valuable for you.
on this new site, let's see what you think of this. This is almost like I'm just asking loads of questions here, Harry. Let's go for it. You know what I mean? While we're on, let's say you've got big events, like big events that happen obviously throughout the UK or wherever, whatever country you're in. And then every year the dates might change, but it's always around a similar period. It might be, you know, within a week or two of the dates. Would you advise in that an idea for that structure might be you'd create a top level page where the URL isn't changing. And then after, let's say the event runs, you can leave that though, because obviously it's a news site, so you need to be publishing the news. So there's going to be a bunch of articles all interconnected to this main event. But then when it gets to the next year round, so let's say now it's 2026, right? Would you look to 301 redirect all of the 2025 posts around that event to that main page that you've created to try and pass that historical data? And then that way it's always keeping it like new event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
You
I
wouldn't.
mean, no, I wouldn't redirect. Redirect is an extra cost,
Yeah.
and Google will go and go and go and find the old page redirects, the old page redirects. It will start crawling a new page, and then it will fade this one. But maybe it will not. I get crawls from HTTP, no S, no security, because 25 years ago there was only HTTP. So I still get crawl from this. It is around 5% of my crawl budget. There's nothing I can do. I can block them, all the HTTP, yeah, I can still block them, but I don't want to block them. Okay. The thing is, what I would do, I would put in the headings in the H1. Okay, put them with new images. Okay, because images is just one. You get one, and if you can put like a big cache period, they may get crawled again in like a month. So that's okay. This is acceptable for you. So try to make this kind of things on site, change the layout, change the content, change even the order of the headings. So in order to represent the GSC data that we have, and try to keep, it's important for you to understand when the date changes on your GSC data. I mean, when you see queries with a new date coming up, okay, this is the right time for you to change the content.
Right.
Okay, so that even a little before, but see when this changed last year, when this changed the year before, it's cached all your GSC data. And it will be also one good thing for you to know that you should get the API access to the GSE data, because that gives like 15, 20%, even more sometimes, GSE data.
So what are you tying that in with BigQuery or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can get some apps with
Yeah.
an LTD. Yeah, I will not say the name because I like them, but not that much. Yeah, you can get some LTDs in order to get this connection, and you can get them later on.
So one tool that we've been looking at and using quite a bit is SEO testing or SEO crawl. And then
Yeah,
obviously that ties in via the OAuth, and the API feeds into your search console, and then that shows you all of the emerging keywords and new
exactly.
keywords.
Yeah.
Also
It
allows you
gives you,
tests.
sorry, tests.
Yeah, it allows you to basically. So let's say you can annotate on the search console data and say, I
That's
implemented a
how I do it. That's
change.
how I do it. Yeah,
Leave it for 7 days, see if impressions and clicks go up. Great,
exactly.
right? That's
Yeah,
what when anyone asks me what SEO is, I'm like, SEO is basically a guy sat in his bedroom. It's not, but a guy sat there doing tests, and he's testing the SERP, for multiple factors. But he does a test, he waits a few days to see the results from the SERP, he implements the next test, and it's just a compound effect. It's over time, and I think this is the
yeah.
problem that with the industry is everyone's looking for the quick win, which they do exist, but everyone's looking for that. Like no one's willing to spend the time and all of the test data we have. It's ridiculous. Some of the tests, like you're talking thousands of tests a year that we
Hmm.
just like certain content sections, and it's like wow. And we've maybe only improved 10%, but guess what? That's 10% better than last year.
If you can go in 5 years, you are 50% up.
Exactly. But the
Actually,
reality,
it's more than 50%. It's
it'll
more
be
than
more than
50%.
50%. Yeah, because obviously it's the compound effect.
Yeah. The thing is, look, if you try to offer this kind of service to a client, okay, you can do that, yeah, but they cannot understand that. They want that because the cost is huge,
Yeah,
it's big,
yeah.
okay, so they want to see immediate results. So lately, I am rejecting clients because it's more difficult for me to educate them on the framework, to educate them on what we are going to build and how we are going to build it. Just tell them, okay, you don't need me. Go find a good person that does ads, and go. If you want to put your big money there, go do ads, and that would be better for you.
That's interesting. So that's usually what I recommend to people, primarily well, there's two reasons. Well, there's a few reasons, but the main one being with ads, I've definitely seen correlation to increase in crawl rates when you're running ads to certain sections on the site. B, you can get user data very, very quickly. Whereas SEO, as we've just discussed, might be a year or two time that you start ranking. And guess what? If you're ranking for the wrong keywords in a year or two time, that's pretty painful. Whereas if
Yeah,
you've got the data from the paid ads that tells you this is where I convert, these are the keywords that convert, guess what? You're making money on the paid ads, and then you've created a strategy around the ranking for those keywords.
the thing is, it also depends on the niche because ads, for example, in my niche, it costs like €4 or €5 a click.
Yeah.
So this is not something that somebody would invest initially just to test things.
But that
But
initial
you,
data, if you're willing to spend 5,000-10,000 euro month one for that initial data, how much further ahead is that then going to make you come month six when you know exactly what keywords work because you've already tested it?
look, there are other strategies that you can do. Find some similar, not similar, some connected entities, let's say pages, and then bring the people through ads with like peanuts there, and then remarket the fuck out of them. So you build an audience which is a lookalike, and then remarket this. It's not a lookalike actually; it's the wrong terminology here. But let's say I would go and put a beach, people searching for the beach. I will put an ad for my page, and then remarket themselves because I know that they want to go there. And if they want to go there, okay, I'm having a car for you here.
Yeah.
So this is cheaper. I haven't tested, but I will test it sometime this year but this way you build the audience, which is it can be like really, really, really cheaper for you to run.
Yeah. And then you run and
cheaper to bring the audience, right? Yeah, that's other strategies you can do. Haven't tested them, but that you will bring the cheaper cost per click
it's actually
closer to your business.
€5 a click in your niche. There's a niche I'm involved in where it's 70 to €80 per click.
Okay, yeah.
That is stupid expensive. When you think, you're going to need at least 30 clicks to get probably a conversion, 20 to 30 clicks to get a conversion. You need to be making fucking good money on that conversion. Otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. I have heard similar projects that each conversion could get you 20K,
Yeah.
and it's okay. But
exactly.
you know that you will be getting 2-3 conversions a month.
Yes.
So
it's
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
So when we're talking about Search Console, and obviously you're checking server logs and things like this, I often advise when people go into Search Console and they go into the settings and see the crawler, that they have to do. Some people don't understand server logs or don't have access to server logs. They might be using shared hosting or something that just doesn't give you access. Do you then recommend, as a bare minimum, they sort of go into their Search Console and at least look at how often the crawler is visiting?
Okay, I want to add something to a previous conversation we had. I like when you're doing the configuration, you need to start annotating when the bot first visit. Okay, because you may have like 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days after you updated the page, but Google doesn't know. So you need to be like really careful of where you put the annotation. That might give you different data. Now, when it comes to that, I use the server logs in order to identify any errors, any problems, okay, for this. Just go and fix them. Like a simple SVG within the logo might trigger some extra crawls that your GSC data might not show. So just go and fix that, this kind of things. There is no need to do it like more than once a month, for example, for the errors. Okay, unless there is a significant change, like a migration or something that you need to.
Taking the data for that whole month and analyzing it?
For the errors, yeah, because this is error logs are different. But for the visit logs, I sort them by Google, when Google visits, and I just try to pair the speed. Okay, in the logs from the server, you don't get the speed, you only get this from the GC data. So that's what I get. And again, I see what changed. An easy tip that I can give you is like put a new page or like a page in the main menu or in the footer, different page, and see how the crawl rate is changing when you added something and how the rankings change. And you can identify if the footer means something to Google or if the header means something to Google. So this way you can, let's say, gouge the right juice, the right page rank to the pages that make the most money for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, or just a new section of like locations, like you're in local niche, rank and rent. If you add the section with all the locations, if your landing page is about a service in a specific location, if that changes, you know what you need to do.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. So let's say you've been into your that same section, following on from you're in the settings in Search Console, and you see it's visiting. You've got a WordPress site, as 80% of the planet is on WordPress pretty much. So you've got a WordPress site, and 70% of it says it's JavaScript, and maybe 10% HTML.
Okay.
What are you then trying to do? Because obviously we know that HTML's the more important one to have up there, right? What are you then trying to do as a dev to try and change them balances?
Look, you have two aspects here. One is Google and one is the visitors. Okay. What I do, I'm obsessed with speed. Okay, speed within the browser. Okay, this is what I can identify. I'm not a system admin. I really don't. I hate this job of as a system admin. But when it comes to the browser and the front end, okay, I'm very picky of what I load and when I load it. Okay, anything you can lazy load, like you can even trigger the main menu, the JavaScript that triggers the main menu with a hover. Okay, so hover, you can show a little spin and then drops down. It's acceptable to have like half a second loading time for the menu, that for the user, I mean. This is kind of reflected on the core web vitals. Okay, I wouldn't pay too much attention there. The only one that I try to fix always is the interaction to next pane, because that will tell you how how quick your website looks. Okay, and this is more about the device performance and the website performance. So, for example, you need all the JavaScript to be run away from the main thread. Okay, and this easy to fix, but okay, it can take you time in order to consider how to fix it. So, whatever you trigger with JavaScript, you need to know that Google might not get it, so you can use it either to your leverage or fix it. Yeah. So Google can actually see it. So provide static or initial static state, and then later on cache it, updates, and this kind of things. For example, widgets that show prices, they need to be static, even though they can be updated with JavaScript or like an Ajax request. You need cached static version for that. So again, the most important is, for me is interaction to next page, INP, and anything you can lazy load or load later, or not load it at all until the user needs it, you need to do it. Quick tip for WordPress is like you need to remove, like there is a plugin called disable all, so you can remove a lot of things that are killing your crawl budget, like the XML, PC, this kind of requests. You can also, what you can do is like try to migrate all the CSS files to one, or break them into pieces and load only the ones you need on each page. For example, a landing page requires more styling, so another CSS file for this. Blog pages are mostly static. Okay, so these kind of things, you can do them with one slimmer file. Yeah. Okay, what else? If you are going to use a widget, you can use an iframe. Okay, and this iframe would be lazy loaded, and when you lazy load it, all the needed elements will load then, like JavaScript, like CSS files there. So again, if I haven't tested yet, but I know a lot of people from the community have tested that, you can completely block all the JS or all the CSS files in order to get this 99.9% of HTML. It's huge, but can be done. You can block it from Google, so you can just show them there.
So let's say you're blocking it from Google, are you then checking how the page renders within Search Console to the user? Because obviously that's the fundamental. You don't want the page to be broken to the user.
Without me being sure about this, there are ways that you can do it, like bots from Google, that is like user triggered, that will get you what they want. But again, Chrome is tracked. Okay, they track all the elements that they want to see through Chrome. I'm just figuring out this. I'm not 100% sure for what I'm saying, but my initial thinking on this is that they get the clicks from Chrome and they get the DOM, the simple from the bots that they visit. Unless you are like a huge corporation, like a insurance broker or something that they need both at the same time, you are safe. Okay, or something that that needs your immediate visual of what you are doing. Okay, you are kind of safe. Yeah. on this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
obviously we're getting close to the hour now and we can talk all day. So I don't want to, obviously respecting your time as well, Harry. Me and Louis were on for frigging close to, I think it was an hour and a half. So
All right.
if there was any bits of advice that you would give anyone starting SEO, what would it be?
Okay, don't. Maybe, I don't know, do ads instead. I mean, I guess there are a lot more money there for you if you are doing it good. But
That is gonna be the thumbnail now. Don't do SEO. That's what it is gonna be.
no, no, no. I mean, most of us came here out of curiosity, right? It's not out of how to make money
No.
or how to make big money. Okay, so yeah. No, it's okay. Start, but the one I said also to the book that James did, I would try to find a mentor like I found Korai back then.
And me, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Try to find a mentor and try to work for them, either like for cheap or for free, or try to get the knowledge and try this way. I don't think that studying, you know, we came from the old days, right? Where you just doing like parasites, they do like this kind of easy things to rank. So I think now it's way more difficult and
There's a lot more cost.
try. Yeah. But if you consider how, I mean, most of the companies try to get online revenue now, so that's also acceptable.
Yeah.
The pool is bigger, so that's why it's also difficult. So try to rank businesses and try to be like more of like a holistic digital marketer, and SEO will be a big part of it. And but again, try to rank business, because if you want to make money, it will be through your business. Try to be a better businessman at the end of the day, and then be a good marketer, be a good SEO at the end.
That's what we were chatting on yesterday a lot. Is I think the problem with SEO is people get a lot of tunnel vision and all they look at is SEO and search impressions and clicks, and they don't understand that there's a whole ethos of paid ads. There's a whole of like offline marketing,
Yeah.
boards, radio, like all of these elements still work and still have place. And guess what? Still all feed into the engine of Google. It'll still
Yeah.
ask people to.
The branded searches. The branded searches. If somebody Googles your address, it's still a branded search. If somebody Googles your number, it's still a branded search. So.
And would you say that you've definitely seen the branded searches just seem to help in general? If I'm being 100%, I've seen this time and time again. Like, if you have a strong branded search, you can rank for pretty much most things pretty quickly. If you have a
Mhm.
branded search, nope, it just doesn't seem to help.
It helps Google identify who you are. Okay, because if you have branded search, Google will give you some branded search actually. Okay, with auto suggest or something like this, and say, do people engage? Do people perform what they originally supposed to do? Okay, do they actually do it? Do is the satisfaction of the user met? Okay, these are quite simple things for Google to identify through Chrome. Okay, so they have the tools, and now they try to find a way to mimic actually the real world, right? If you're getting radio ads, that should be reflected also to say, okay, I heard an ad in the radio, and say, okay, let me Google this company if it's actually good, and then you get the branded searches as well. So if you control also the whole search of your brand, that builds your knowledge funnel. And this is also important. I'm pretty sure that Luis talked a lot about this. You need to control the narrative around your brand. And if you control the narrative, you affect the searcher's mind. So, okay, I'm good. You can trust me. Perform the task for me. Satisfy your intent with me. So we get at the end of the funnel where the user have converted, and that's it. You get say if you get branded signals, branded searches, and they can satisfy the intent, this is the number one validation thing from Google that, okay, this company is good, so I will rank it because it will satisfy the user intent. And if I can make this company expand with ads, everybody wins.
Yeah. And Google wins.
Yeah,
They
exactly. Yeah.
only make money from ads, right? And this is the main problem.
They actually want you to perform good so they can spend ads. Companies spend money on ads, not Carl as a person. I don't want to put an ad as my name. Okay, so that's it.
No, that's excellent. Right, Harry, you've been an absolute legend. Obviously, for anyone who just wants to skip to the end, basically said don't do SEO, do paid ads instead. That's the advice.
No, no, no. I didn't say that. You said that. I mean, it should be part of your strategy. Of course, I understand that the budget is kind of a thing, type of, how you can do all of them with a limited budget. But that's a thing that you should consider before starting a business as well, right?
Exactly, exactly that. Right. Thanks, Harry.